Author of books, presenter of podcasts and TV and radio programmes, speaker at events, trainer of potential broadcasters and existing broadcasters, voiceover presenter as well, and also a presenter of Get a Better Broadcast podcast and Voiceover Voice. Hello, I'm Peter Stewart on Twitter, Tweeter Stewart, TWWTERSTEWART. Going through, aren't we, our A to Z, our Diction-ary of voice, talking about different words, different terms that you may come across as your voiceover career progresses, whether it be on air, whether it be live, whether it be recorded, whether it be in a TV or radio studio, maybe from a platform, maybe at home, maybe in a professional studio. We got it all here for you in the previous 900 plus episodes. Today, CTA and copy marking and conversational shows, but we're going to start off, as is usual, in an alphabetical way with a conversational read. Read coming before show. Yeah, a conversational read, sometimes called a transparent read. You may have come across that term as well, when a script doesn't sound as though it's being read. So using an authentic, friendly or realistic style that gives the impression that the voiceover, you, talking with the listener one-to-one. You're telling a story or convincing someone from what appears to be your own experience. It's a tone, if you like, that personifies everyday speech. It's not announcery, so think of everyday conversation. Now, what's a good example of a conversational read? Well, probably the last 30 seconds or so, because all of that I just said was literally down, virtually word for word, on the screen in front of me, but hopefully I made it sound a little bit conversational. Incidentally, that last 15 seconds I was actually ad-libbing, as I am now. But what you need to do is, with a conversational read, you need to try and use the aspects, the criteria, the nuances of when you're ad-libbing something off the top of your head, off the cuff, and other parts of your body as well, when you are saying something which is scripted. So let's look back at some of those things that we may do. We may have a slightly faltering delivery, stopping and starting, not necessarily terribly overly fluent. You are elongating certain words, you're rushing over other words as well. It's not necessarily completely fluent where every single word has the correct, inverted commas, time given to it. So it's speed and it's stuttering, maybe a little bit. It's putting in maybe ums and ahs, but only if the script calls for it, only if the presentation calls for it, only if the production director calls for it. It may be in throwing any other words in, like well, or so, or you know, things like that. Make it sound much more conversational as well. And in fact, 95% of the content of the podcast which I have presented over these 900 plus episodes have been scripted, but hopefully given in a conversational way, in a conversational ad-libbed kind of style, because it sounds much more friendly. Now, if I was going to be reading that main paragraph about what a conversational read is, as though it's scripted, then it's going to sound something like this. Conversational read is when a script doesn't sound as though it's being read, so using an authentic, friendly or realistic style that gives the impression the voiceover is talking with the listener one-to-one, telling a story or convincing them from what appears to be their own experience, a tone that personifies everyday speech. It's non-announcery. Think everyday conversation. Now, I don't think that is going to be as engaging as how I presented it the first time round. What do you think? Can you notice a difference? What are the elements of a conversation that you use when you're talking to a friend that you can bring to a scripted style of content? Conversational show is a show or podcast where the audience listens to a recorded or live conversation, a discussion, maybe a round table, something like that. It's a conversational show. It's various people, maybe just two people, maybe more than that, having a conversation. Very unlikely to be scripted, almost any of it, apart from maybe the intro, the outro, and a few questions there as well. But hopefully even the questions You should be reacting to what somebody else is saying. You may have a few bullet points, you may have a few notes that you're going to read questions from, that you're going to take question ideas from. But if you can create those questions in the moment with their actual style, the actual words that you use, rather than read them word for word off a screen or a page, it's going to sound much more fluent, it's going to sound much more natural, much more authentic, much more real, much more personable as well. A couple of other things to mention this week. Copy marking, or today I should say, copy marking, the system of annotating a script to remind you about the issues such as inflection, pauses and pronunciation. Now, copy marking really comes into its own when you've got a conversational read. So you've got the script that you have to read, you can't throw in any extra words, you can't shorten words. So if you can annotate them with, as I say, various marks, slashes, underlinings, capital letters, circles, whatever works for you, and we spent a couple of 3 days, didn't we, a year or more ago talking about copy marking, so go back and look at those episodes and listen to them again. If you mark them up for inflection, pauses and pronunciation and so on, it will make you sound much more conversational as well. It's a certain amount of artifice going on, isn't there, in having words that have been written down and pored over and changed and passed through various eyes and hands. It's been signed off by various men and women in suits before it gets to you, and you've got to make it sound as though it's only just occurred to you to say this script in this particular way. And finally today, a CTA, the call to action. Now, this is the part of a commercial script that tells the listener, tells the user, what to do after they've heard the advert. It may be buy now, or call this number for tickets, or visit our website for details. Usually just advertising something, just mentioning a product and what it does isn't good enough. Usually, not always. Sometimes it is good enough. But very often you want someone to do something, like buy it, go somewhere for more details, look out for it in a store, sign up for our newsletter, look out for our personalised offer, those kinds of things, the CTA, the call to action. And you're usually going to be reading those calls to action in a slightly different way, perhaps, than the rest of the copy. It may be that it's a little bit more announcery. Sale now on! Or it may be much more friendly. If you want more information, give us a call. If you want more details, if you want to sign up to our offer, this is where you need to go. So, conversational reads, conversational shows, copy marking and CTAs today. More C's tomorrow, because we're going to be talking about cue and a cue and assist as well. Not assist as in helping someone, but a cyst. CYST. Not nice, but important to know as Get a Better Broadcast podcast and Voice Over Voice continues. From London, I'm Peter Stewart.